Alright, today I wanted to do 3 examples where I really focused on the signs in these techniques, because if you don't get the sign right, then you're not going to get the problem right. Okay? Because if you get the wrong sign, it's wrong. So, the first example I want to start off with, and I want to do a couple examples that are really, really similar, except for the fact that their signs are different. So the first example I want to start off with is (3x squared minus 10x plus 8). All right, so we're going to start by multiplying our first and last term together. It's going to give us 24. And as I'm doing this, I want to think about this sign right here. Okay? This sign means that as we look at our factors, we want to add them together. All right? So what we're looking for in this case is we're looking for 2 factors that are going to add up to negative 10. And since we're adding them together, that means that both of our factors are going to have to be negative. Okay? Whenever you're adding, you're dealing with factors that are going to have the same sign. So, looking at the factors of 24, I'm looking for negative 10. All right? I'm going to start off with 1 and 24, which would give us 25, which isn't going to work. 2 and 12, which would give us 14. 3 and 8, which would give us 11. And then 4 and 6, which is going to give us 10. And remember, we're going to have negative 4 and negative 6 here. All right. So now we can proceed to our next step. That's our pair of factors. So in the next step, we're going to rewrite our equation. We have minus 4x minus 6x plus 8. So remember, we're going to bring this guy down, we're going to split this guy up, and we're going to bring this guy down. Okay. Now, if you want to, you can switch the order of those 2 factors to make the factoring more fun or easier. Okay? A lot of people look at this and go, well, 3 and 6 have a common factor, and 4 and 8 have a common factor. Why don't we put them together? So let's do that. Okay, it's just a matter of writing them in the opposite order. All right. Now the important thing there is you've got to make sure that you keep your signs the same. Okay. If this guy's negative, it should stay negative. Okay. All right. Our next step here is we're going to factor out a GCF from these guys. We're going to factor out a GCF from these guys. And one thing that's really, really important on this second part of our factoring by grouping is because this guy is negative, it's going to come down as a negative. Which means that we're going to be factoring out a negative number. So when we factor out negative 4 from these guys, we're going to get x, and we're going to get negative 2. And then our factorization is going to be 3x minus 4 times x minus 2. And that would be our answer. So let's look at a different example with a relatively minor but really, really ridiculously important change. Okay, let's say that we're looking at 3x squared minus 10x minus 8. Okay, that makes a huge difference. Okay, it's such a small thing, but it makes a really, really big difference. All right, that minus right there means that we're going to subtract. Okay, so when we look at our factors, we're looking at 24. We're going to look at factors of 24. And this time around, we still want them to combine to be negative 10, but we need to subtract them. So when I do 1 and 24, I'm going to get 23. I do 2 and 12, that's going to give me 10. So that's the pair that I want. Now the next question is, well, how do I tell which one's going to be negative and which one's going to be positive? Well, one way of thinking about it is you have to think about what you need to do to get negative 10. Okay? So in that case, I need a positive 2 and a negative 12. Okay? Another way of thinking about it is, if this guy is negative, then the larger factor is negative. Okay. So, we're going to split it up again. And again, I notice that 3 and 12 have a common factor, so I'm going to put them together. So I'm going to have 3x squared minus 12x. And then I'm going to have plus 2x minus 8. So this guy came down, this guy came down, that guy got split up. We're going to factor that out by grouping. We're going to factor that out by grouping. And there's our answer. So let's look at one more example. So I'm going to take this guy. I'm going to make this negative and that positive. Right? So in this case, again, we're thinking about subtracting. We're looking at factors of 24. We start working on our list. Looking for positive 10 in this case. I almost made a mistake there. It happens. So, but we're subtracting. Okay, so 24 minus 1 is 23. You have 2 and 12. 12 minus 2 is 10. But this time, because our larger sign is positive, our larger factor is going to be positive. So we're looking at positive 12 and negative 2. So when I factor it, I'm going to have 3x squared plus 12x minus 2x minus 8. I'm going to factor out a 3. It's going to leave me with 3 times x plus 4. I'm going to factor out a negative 2. And remember, that's going to change the sign on my second term when I factor it. So I'm going to get x plus 4. And then my factorization will be so what I want to get across here, what I want you to remember, is that this sign right here is going to tell you whether or not you're adding or subtracting. Okay? And if you're adding, you're going to have 2 terms of the same sign. And if you're subtracting, you're going to have 2 different signs. This sign right here is going to tell you what sign your larger factor is. Okay? So hopefully you can take that, get some practice on your homework with it, and make it work.